June 12, 1958. 3:47 a.m. Bumpy Johnson woke to the smell of smoke. Not distant smoke, close, dangerous. The kind that meant someone was sending a message. He walked to the window, saw orange flames licking the night sky 3 blocks away. Williams' grocery store, burning. By the time he got dressed and reached the street, half of Harlem was already awake. Fire trucks screaming, people crying, and nailed to a telephone pole, across from the burning store was a piece of paper, white sheet, crude red letters. Clords leave Harlem, or burn. KKK. Nobody had seen the Klan in Harlem for 15 years. They'd been beaten back, humiliated, driven underground. But now, they were back. And they'd just declared war on Bumpy Johnson's neighborhood. What happened in the next 48 hours would become the most brutal, brilliant counterattack in Harlem's history. A strategy so precise, so devastating, that the Ku Klux Klan would never set foot in Upper Manhattan again. ACT-UN, the threat establishing stakes. June 12, 1958. Williams' grocery store was ash, 73 years old. That building, built by Marcus Williams' grandfather in 1885, survived the race riots of 1900, the Depression, 2 world wars, and now, gone. Marcus stood in the rubble, face black with soot, holding a charred photograph of his family. His wife, Eleanor, wrapped a blanket around his shoulders. Their 3 grandchildren watched from the sidewalk, too young to understand hatred, old enough to see their grandfather crying. Bumpy approached slowly. Marcus looked up, eyes hollow. "They burned my life, Bumpy. Everything I built, everything my father built. 73 years. Gone." "I know." The letter said, "We have 1 week to leave Harlem, or they burn it all. Every black business, every church, every home." Bumpy picked up a piece of burnt timber, still warm. How many people saw them? Nobody. They came at 2 a.m., poured gasoline through the mail slot. Lit it, Radana. Reverend Adam Clayton Powell Jr. arrived, already in his preacher's robes despite the early hour. He'd been doing this for 30 years, showing up when his community bled. "Bumpy, we need to talk, privately." They walked half a block away. Powell's voice dropped to a whisper. "This isn't just Williams' store. I got 3 calls this morning. Mount Olivet Baptist Church, swastika painted on the front door. Johnson's barbershop, windows smashed. Niggers go home spray painted inside. Small's Paradise, threatening letters shoved under the door. Small's, Bumpy's restaurant, his headquarters. They'd made it personal. And there's more." Powell pulled out a folded paper. "This was delivered to my church at 5 a.m. Bumpy unfolded it, typed, professional, cold. "To the Negro leadership of Harlem. You have infected this neighborhood with your presence for too long. New York belongs to white America. You have 7 days to vacate all Negro-owned businesses, churches, and residences north of 110th Street. Failure to comply will result in systematic destruction. We have the gasoline. We have the manpower. We have the will. This is your only warning. Knights of the Ku Klux Klan New York chapter." Bumpy read it twice. Then he looked at the growing crowd. 200 people now, watching, waiting to see if their protector could protect them from this. "How many Klansmen we talking about?" Bumpy asked. "I don't know. Could be 20. Could be 200. "And the police?" Powell's laugh was bitter. "Called them an hour ago. They said they'd look into it. You know what that means?" Yeah, Bumpy knew. The NYPD wasn't coming. Some of those cops probably wore white hoods on weekends. But here's what the Klan didn't understand about Bumpy Johnson. Rehook #1. They thought they were fighting a gangster. They were wrong. They were fighting a man who'd spent 30 years building an intelligence network more sophisticated than the FBI. A man who knew every secret, every weakness, every pressure point in New York City. And they'd just given him a reason to use all of it. June 12, 1958. Bumpy's living room. 35 people crammed inside. Every crew leader, every policy banker, every person who ran operations in Harlem. Plus some outsiders, Father Divine, rival preacher. But this wasn't about competition. Stephanie Saint, Claire the numbers queen, retired but still connected, and a man nobody expected, Detective Luis Ramos, NYPD, Puerto Rican. one of 3 non-white detectives in the entire department, and one of the few cops Bumpy trusted. Bumpy stood at the front. No preamble. The Klan burned Williams' grocery at 2 a.m. They're threatening to burn every black business in Harlem within 7 days unless we leave. Silence, then eruption. Shouting, anger. Someone yelled, "We fight back, burn their neighborhoods." Bumpy raised a hand. Instant quiet. No. No? Willie Jackson, one of Bumpy's top enforcers, looked confused. "Boss, they just declared war. They declared terror. There's a difference. You fight terror with terror. You lose, because terror is their weapon. They're better at it than us. They've been doing it for 100 years. Then what do? We fight smart." Bumpy walked to a chalkboard he'd set up, drew a circle. "The Klan has 3 weaknesses. 1, secrecy. They hide behind hoods because if we knew who they were, they'd lose their power. 2, they think we're stupid. They think black people are too scared, too disorganized to fight back effectively. 3, they're outsiders. They don't live in Harlem. They don't know our streets, our people, our rhythm." He tapped the board. "We use all 3 weaknesses against them." Stephanie St. Clair leaned forward. "How?" "We find out who they are. We expose them. We make them so terrified of being identified that they never come back." "And how exactly do we find hooded men who operate in the dark?" Bumpy smiled. "Cold. Dangerous. We set a trap." June 12, 1958. Bumpy met with Detective Ramos at a diner in the Bronx, neutral territory. Ramos slid a folder across the table. "You didn't get this from me." Inside, NYPD intelligence reports. The Klan's New York chapter had been dormant since 1943. Then 6 months ago, activity spiked. Recruiting, meetings, planning. The NYPD had been monitoring but not interfering. "Why not interfering?" Bumpy asked. Ramos looked around, lowered his voice. "Because half the department sympathizes with them. Maybe more. There's a sergeant in the 32nd precinct, O'Malley. He's been seen at Klan rallies in New Jersey, never in uniform. But we know." "How many cops are involved?" "I don't know. 10? 20? They're careful." Bumpy studied the reports. "Where do they meet?" "We don't know. They rotate locations. Warehouses, abandoned buildings. They're paranoid about infiltration." "When's the next meeting?" "There's chatter about something big on June 14th. 2 days from now, location unknown." Bumpy closed the folder. "I'm going to find that location, and when I do, I need you ready." "Ready for what?" "To arrest every single one of them." Ramos blinked. "Bumpy, I'm one detective. I can't arrest. You won't be alone. I'm going to hand you a case so airtight, so public, so undeniable, that the NYPD will have no choice but to act. But I need you ready to move fast." "What are you planning?" "You'll see." Rehook #2. What Bumpy Johnson did next was so audacious, so impossibly risky, that even his closest allies thought he'd lost his mind. But he understood something the Klan didn't. The most dangerous weapon isn't violence, it's information. And Bumpy was about to deploy it like a nuclear bomb. June 12, 1958, 7:00 p.m. Bumpy called in a favor from a man named Isaiah Grant. Isaiah was 61 years old, light-skinned enough to pass for white, if the light was right, and a former Army intelligence officer who'd served in World War II, fluent in 6 languages, expert in undercover work. And most importantly, he hated the Klan with every fiber of his being. They'd lynched his brother in Georgia in 1946. "I need you to infiltrate them," Bumpy said. Isaiah didn't hesitate. "When do I start?" "Tonight. There's a Klan recruitment meeting in Queens. You're going to walk in, tell them you're new to the city. Work in construction, hate that Harlem's invading New York. You're angry. You're looking for like-minded patriots. They'll vet me. I know, that's why you're going to use your real background. Army, construction, originally from North Carolina. All true, except you'll say you left the South because it was getting too soft on coloreds. That's your story." Isaiah nodded. "And if they accept me, you find out where the big meeting is on June 14th. Who's leading it? How many members? Everything. And then we end them." June 13th, 1958. Isaiah Grant walked into a garage in Astoria, Queens. 12 white men sat in folding chairs, smoking cigarettes, drinking beer. A makeshift cross stood in the corner, not burning, but ready. The leader, a man in his 50s with a scar across his left cheek, stood up. "You the new guy?" "Yeah, name's Isaiah Grant. Moved here from Charlotte 3 months ago. Why you interested in joining the Knights?" Isaiah let anger creep into his voice. Controlled, believable. "Because I came to New York thinking it was a white man's city. Clean, safe. And what do I find? Negroes everywhere. Harlem spreading like a disease, taking jobs, taking neighborhoods. I'm tired of it. I want to do something." The scarred man studied him. "What kind of work you do?" "Construction, demolition. Mostly, worked on building sites all over the South." "Demolition, huh?" The man smiled. "That's useful, real useful." Isaiah was in. June 13th, 1958. Isaiah reported back to Bumpy. "The main meeting is tomorrow night, June 14th, 9 p.m. Warehouse on Peary 47, Brooklyn. They're planning something big, coordinated, fires across Harlem. 20 targets, all on the same night." Bumpy's jaw tightened. 20 churches, businesses, even some residences. They want to create panic, make it look like Harlem's burning itself down, like blacks are rioting. Then the NYPD comes in, clears everyone out for public safety. "How many Klansmen?" 43 confirmed attendees for tomorrow, including 5 NYPD officers. Bumpy leaned back. 43, and they were meeting in one place at one time. "Isaiah, you're going to that meeting, and you're going to wear a wire." Turi Hook #3. Now here's where Bumpy's plan got truly brilliant and truly dangerous. He wasn't just going to expose the Klan, he was going to turn their own hatred into a weapon that would destroy them permanently. But it required perfect timing, perfect execution, and one hell of a gamble. June 14th, 1958, 8:30 p.m. Isaiah Grant wore a recording device taped to his chest. Tiny microphone, reel-to-reel recorder, hidden in a fake Bible. State-of-the-art technology, borrowed from a contact at the FBI who owed Bumpy a favor and hated the Klan even more. He walked into Peary 47, 43 men in white robes. Some wore hoods, others didn't. Too confident, too comfortable. They didn't think anyone would dare infiltrate them. The scarred man, Grand Cyclops they called him, stood at a podium. His name was Robert Dalton, owner of a trucking company, deacon at a Baptist church in Staten Island, pillar of his community, and a violent racist planning mass arson. "Brothers," Dalton began, "tonight we take back our city. Tomorrow night Harlem burns. 20 fires, set simultaneously at 2 a.m. By dawn the Negroes will be fleeing. By next week, Harlem will be ours again." Applause, cheering. Isaiah's recorder captured every word. Dalton continued, "We've got gasoline. We've got accelerants. And we've got men inside the NYPD who'll make sure no one responds until it's too late." He gestured to 5 men in the front row. All cops, out of uniform but recognizable. Sergeant O'Malley was there. So was Officer Brennan, Officer Kowalski, Officer Murphy, and Detective Frank Ricci. Isaiah memorized every face. Dalton handed out assignments. "Grant, you're new, so you're on reconnaissance. Tomorrow afternoon you'll scout Mount Olivet Baptist Church. Check for alarms, locks, escape routes. Report back at midnight." "Yes, sir," Isaiah said. The meeting ended at 10:15 p.m. Isaiah walked out, heart pounding. He'd gotten everything. Names, faces, plans, confessions. He met Bumpy at a safe house in the Bronx at 11 p.m., handed over the recording. Bumpy listened to the entire thing. 43 minutes of pure, undeniable evidence. "This ends them," Bumpy said quietly. "But we have to move fast. They're hitting tomorrow night." June 15th, 1958, 6:00 a.m. Bumpy met with Detective Ramos and gave him the recording. 20 fires, 43 Klansmen, 5 NYPD officers involved. It's all on tape. Ramos listened. His face went pale. "Jesus Christ. You need to arrest them now, today, before 2 a.m. tonight. Bumpy. I can't just..." "Yes, you can. Take this to your captain. Tell him if he doesn't act, you're going to the press, the Amsterdam News, the New York Times, every newspaper in the city. Tell him this is the biggest Klan bust in NYPD history. Tell him he can either be the hero who stopped it or the coward who let Harlem burn. Ramos took the tape. You're putting my career on the line. I'm putting lives on the line. Your career is a small price to pay. Ramos nodded. I'll try. Don't try. Do it. June 15, 1958, 12:00 p.m. Ramos played the tape for Captain James Halloran, 28th Precinct. Halloran listened in silence. When it ended, he sat there for 5 minutes without speaking. This is real? Halloran finally asked. 100%. I've verified the voices. That's Robert Dalton. That's Sergeant O'Malley. I know who they are. Halloran's voice was ice. O'Malley works for me. Then you have a decision to make, Captain. Halloran stood up, walked to the window, looked out at Harlem. If I arrest them, I'm arresting 5 cops. The union will go insane. Internal Affairs will investigate me. My career could be over. And if you don't arrest them, Harlem burns. 20 buildings, dozens dead. And when the press finds out you had evidence and did nothing, your career is definitely over, along with your conscience. Halloran turned around. How did you get this recording? Does it matter? Yeah, it matters, because if this was obtained illegally, it's inadmissible in court. Ramos had prepared for this. Nanamos source, mailed to me this morning. Postmarked from New Jersey. No return address. Could have been anyone. Halloran knew it was bullshit, but he also knew it was plausible bullshit. I need time to think. You have until 2 a.m. After that, Harlem burns and your inaction is public record. Halloran stared at Ramos. You'd really go to the press? Try me. Rehook #4. Captain Halloran was a complicated man. Racist, probably corrupt, sometimes, but he wasn't stupid, and he wasn't suicidal. What he did in the next 6 hours would determine whether the NYPD was seen as saviors or accomplices. Bumpy had forced his hand beautifully. June 15, 1958, 6:00 p.m. Halloran made his decision. He called the commissioner, played the tape. Within 30 minutes, the NYPD mobilized the largest raid in its history. Targets: 43 locations across New York City, homes, businesses, meeting spots. Every single Klansman on that recording. At exactly 8 p.m., 200 NYPD officers simultaneously raided 43 addresses. Robert Dalton was arrested at his trucking company, hoods and gasoline cans in his office. Sergeant O'Malley was arrested at his home in front of his wife and 3 children. Officers Brennan, Kowalski, Murphy, and Detective Ricci, all arrested in their own precincts, cuffed by their fellow cops. 38 civilians arrested, 0 escaped. By 10 p.m., all 43 suspects were in custody. By 11 p.m., the press had the story. NYPD bust KKK plot to burn Harlem, New York Times. 43 arrested in Klan conspiracy. 5 cops among Klansmen planning mass arson. June 16, 1958. The fallout was nuclear. The NYPD commissioner held a press conference, praised Captain Halloran, praised Detective Ramos, promised full prosecution, promised department-wide reform. The 5 arrested officers were fired immediately. The union protested but backed down when the recording went public. No one wanted to defend cops plotting arson. Robert Dalton's trucking company was raided by the FBI. They found KKK documents, membership lists, financial records, 300 additional names. The investigation expanded to New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and the remaining Klan members. They vanished. Meetings stopped. Recruiting stopped. Within 6 months, the KKK's New York chapter was completely defunct, destroyed, humiliated. They never threatened Harlem again. June 16, 1958. Bumpy Johnson sat with Reverend Powell and Marcus Williams on the steps of Mount Olivet Baptist Church, the church that would have burned if the plan had succeeded. Marcus looked at Bumpy. How did you do it? How did you stop them so fast? I didn't stop them, they stopped themselves. All I did was make sure the world saw who they really were. Powell added, the police are calling you a hero. Bumpy laughed. The police arrested people based on evidence I provided. That doesn't make me a hero. That makes them competent. For once. Still, you saved Harlem. Harlem saved itself. Isaiah risked his life. Detective Ramos risked his career. Captain Halloran made the right choice. All I did was connect the dots. Marcus shook his head. You always deflect, but we know this was you. Bumpy stood up. It was all of us. That's the point. The Klan thought we were weak, divided, scared. They were wrong. When Harlem unites, we're unstoppable. Final, rehook. But the story doesn't end there, because 3 months later, something happened that proved Bumpy's counterattack had consequences far beyond Harlem. September 1958. Robert Dalton was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. During his trial, the prosecutor revealed something shocking. The KKK had planned similar operations in Chicago, Detroit, Philadelphia, and Atlanta. Harlem was supposed to be the test case. If it had succeeded, the Klan would have launched a nationwide campaign of terror against black neighborhoods in every major city. Bumpy Johnson's 48-hour counterattack didn't just save Harlem, it dismantled a conspiracy that could have set the civil rights movement back a decade. The FBI opened investigations in 12 states. Over 400 Klansmen were arrested within a year. And it all started because one man refused to let hatred win. October 1958. Bumpy received a letter, no return address, postmarked from Washington, D.C. Mr. Johnson, you don't know me, but I know what you did in Harlem. I work for the Department of Justice. We've been trying to infiltrate the Klan for years with limited success. Your operation gave us the breakthrough we needed. Because of your evidence, we've dismantled Klan networks in 8 states, hundreds arrested, thousands deterred from joining. You did more to fight domestic terrorism in 48 hours than the federal government has done in 10 years. This will never be publicly acknowledged. You'll never get credit. But know this, you changed history. Thank you, a grateful American. Bumpy showed the letter to Mamie. She read it, smiled. You saved the country and no one will ever know. I don't need them to know. I just needed the Klan to know that Harlem doesn't burn. We fight back. December 1958. At Wells Restaurant, Bumpy held a community meeting. 200 people attended. He stood at the front, no microphone, just his voice. 6 months ago, the Klan threatened to burn us out. They thought we'd run. They were wrong. They thought we were weak. They were wrong. They thought hatred was stronger than unity. They were wrong about everything. Applause. But here's what I want you to understand. This wasn't about me. This was about all of us. Isaiah Grant risked his life going undercover. Detective Ramos risked his career standing up to corruption. Captain Halloran made a choice that could have ended him. Every single person in this room played a part by refusing to be afraid. He paused. The Klan is gone, but there will always be people who want to destroy what we've built. So we stay vigilant. We stay united. And we never ever let fear win. Standing ovation. 1968. 10 years later. When Bumpy Johnson died, over 5,000 people attended his funeral. Politicians, musicians, community leaders. And sitting in the front row was Isaiah Grant, now 71 years old. During the eulogy, Reverend Powell told the story of the Klan's threat and Bumpy's 48-hour counterattack. Bumpy Johnson taught us that real power isn't violence. It's intelligence. It's unity. It's refusing to let hatred define you. The Klan came to Harlem with torches and threats. Bumpy responded with strategy and courage, and he won without firing a single shot. Isaiah Grant stood up, walked to the podium, and added this. I was there. I wore the wire. I sat in that warehouse surrounded by 43 men who wanted to burn my community to the ground, and I wasn't afraid. You know why? Because Bumpy Johnson taught me that we're stronger than them, smarter than them, better than them, and when we stand together, we're unbeatable. He paused, tears in his eyes. The Klan thought Harlem would burn. Instead they did, and Bumpy Johnson lit the match. Outro my no call to action. If this story of intelligence defeating hatred, of unity conquering terror, moved you, hit that subscribe button. Drop a like if you believe that the best revenge against bigotry is exposing it to the light. Share this with someone who needs to hear that real strength isn't violence, it's strategy. What would you have done in Bumpy's position? Let me know in the comments. And remember, they came with torches. He came with truth, and truth always wins. Bumpy Johnson proved that, and Harlem never forgot.